Hello lords and ladies, welcome back to Cartoon Hangout, your place for all things cartoon. Night of the Living Dead Darkest Dawn is a 2015 CGI modern reimagining of the classic zombie movie, Night of the Living Dead. And it is awful. Simply one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It came out 2 years ago, but looks like some PlayStation 1 video game cutscene from 20 years ago. Every single character in this dreadful excuse of a movie looks like they took a picture of some poor actor's face and stretched it over a 3D model. In the case of the main character Ben, it looks even worse. They can't even get his freaking lips to move in a realistic way. Seriously, take a look. What the heck? They had a large enough crew working on this, but everything about it is amateurish, which is unforgivable by 2015 standards. You know what other movies came out in 2015? Inside Out, Hotel Transylvania 2, The Peanut Movie, and so on. The voice dubbing is atrocious, and you can barely hear some of the characters, and at other times the recording itself sounds like it was captured on some cheap-ass mic. It doesn't help that the music in this movie and the garbage editing made me want to scratch my eyes out. Don't believe me? This is fairly early into the film. I had a headache just trying to follow that. Not to mention that little red effect pissed me off so bad. Can you say not subtle? Because it was horrible. Anytime something scary happened or even dramatic, boom, red. I don't know if they were trying to pay homage to the original black and white, but randomly in the movie, it will also change to black and white. Only a few seconds at a time and then back to color, making me puzzled at the reason for it. Other than the filmmakers maybe thinking it made the movie a little bit more artsy, which it does not. On top of those two things, there was this weird effect. I don't know what it's called, but it was annoying. Now the animation isn't any better. They used motion capture, but if so, the actors have no experience acting like real humans because it was stilted and odd, but that possibly has to do more with the CGI than anything. The zombies were okay looking, but obviously abandoned the more human appearance seen in the original, going for a more modern depiction, along with the zombies moving quicker. Unfortunately, they never sound scary, them ripping into humans is comically bad, and because of the low budget, there's never any actual tension involving them because the entire city looks abandoned despite the zombie apocalypse having just started. Now the story doesn't fare great either. It's essentially the original but with some slight tweaks. I could go along with the more modern city setting, but other changes almost completely crap on the original, from turning the lead into a doofus who manages to get them all killed, to actually making the father in the movie even more unlikable than the original one. Even if any of you want to defend the story with, it's just doing something different, the movie never does anything remotely on par or better than what you'll find in the original, which makes this a completely pointless movie that no one was looking for. There are plenty of other, better reimaginings and adaptations of Night of the Living Dead out there. You're better off watching the classic, rather than this brain dead corpse of a movie. That'll be it for this review. If you were unlucky enough to have seen this movie like I was, and have some opinions of your own, feel free to leave them down below. Otherwise, consider this review a warning, and avoid this movie at all cost. Thanks for watching, and take care. Hello lords and ladies, welcome back to Cartoon Hangout, your place for all things cartoon. Night of the Living Dead is as classic as horror movies go. Created by the late Romero, it's considered not only one of the best horror movies of all time, but also one of the best zombie movies. The film is often credited as the birthplace of the modern zombie, with tons of movies and projects paying homage and respect to the movie years later. Due to a mistake on Romero's part, the movie was public domain, meaning anyone could take the film and do what they want. This has led to a host of remakes and reboots even to this day.
which is how something like this recent film, Night of the Animated Dead, came to be. It's not the first time Romero's classic has been remade in animation. I've even reviewed one of the previous attempts a few years ago. And honestly, I've always believed someone should redo the movie as a cartoon. There are so many creative things you can do in animation, and we're short on horror cartoons to begin with. So when I saw this movie existed, I knew I had to watch it. I mean, look at that beautiful cover art. This is gonna look... Oh. Yeah. Talk about misleading covers. Well, certainly a step up from the awful CGI take on the original, Night of the Animated Dead is hardly what I'd call a good-looking cartoon. Actually, it looks more like an Adult Swim show. It's animated similarly, too. It's a shame, because the background, and even some of the CGI for the vehicles, looks nice. And then you have this eyesore plastered on top of them. I googled the animation studio after I finished the movie, and all their other works look great. Seriously, their 2D animation is gorgeous. So how in the world did they make this? Maybe in trying to replicate the style of the original, they ended up stumbling a bit. Because this is pretty bad by 2021 standards. And it was published by Warner Brothers of all companies. No one checked to see if the animation looked good? But what of the story, you ask? Well, it's Night of the Living Dead. The animated remake doesn't veer too far from the original, which could be a good thing or a bad thing. It's faithful to a T, but it also doesn't do much else. It does feature loads more gory shots than the black and white film, which is pretty neat to see, but if you've seen the original, then you've already seen this one. For a time, I even thought they hadn't redubbed it and just used the voices from the original. I checked though, and they did bring in new voice actors. So, another positive mark in the film's favor, because I almost couldn't tell the difference. I held out hope that this would be a fantastic animated remake of a beloved horror movie. It's something I've wanted for years now, so it's a bit disappointing to see that we still don't have a good one yet. While I am generally in favor of faithful remakes, I think the movie could have done more than just add more detailed zombie kills. Some exploration of the characters would have been nice. It's not the worst thing that's come out this year, and it may even be worth watching for the animated gimmick alone, but I expected more, and this wasn't it. Have you seen Night of the Animated Dead? Share your opinion on it down below, and what other horror films would you like to see get the Animated Dead treatment? Preferably not by this studio.